Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Just had to take care of some worms I found in my review bucket. And boy, did I find a good one. Thick and juicy. Glad I found it when I did. I'm talking about Vault of the Void. Still in early access, but feels very much like a complete game. The developer seems to mostly be tinkering with balance and UI these days, bringing all the characters up to par. In case you don't have the same debilitating addiction as me, this is a roguelike deck building game spawned from the likes of Slay the Spire, though with more of the presentation of card collecting Rage Machine Hearthstone. You go node to node, beating people up and adding new cards to your deck, hoping to get permanent buffs that can get your deck beefy enough to beat up each floor's boss in the hopes that you can make it to the final boss and complete the run. But if you skip leg day and get crushed by the weight of your incompetence, well, too bad. You'll lose it all and have to start a new run, either learning from your mistake or praying harder sweet RNGesus for the artifact that you formed a codependent relationship with. It's like packing the entirety of Naruto Ship a Burrito into an hour. No talking or story or whatever, just witnessing the cycle of battling and powering up until you fight God, and then suddenly you are at the beginning as a weakling again, ready to do it all over. And there's like a bit more math. Now, what makes a Naruto Ship a Burrito, the Gathering Spire, good? Engaging choices. Because whether our biologically determined chemical reactions dictate our actions, or your preferred deity does, we like entertaining ourselves with the idea of having free will. Existential horror aside, the question is how meaningful are the choices we are asked to make in a given game? Are you essentially choosing between two of the same thing, like what fills most of our grocery stores? Are you being presented with a clearly good and clearly dog shit option? Like being asked to choose between cake and dog shit? Or are you confronted by two meaningfully different things that could affect you in different ways, that are up to you? You know, a scenario where you have to think, use those brains or whatever is left after hours of watching Naruto Ship a Burrito. Choices in deck building games usually happens on 3 levels. Run to run, you decide what character to play as and what nodes to travel down. Battle to battle, you're deciding what cards to add to your deck or upgrade or artifact to choose. Turn to turn, you're deciding what cards to play and in what order. So in Vault of the Void, you're choosing between these 4 characters, and while they may all look like they come from the same DreamWorks animation porcelain family, they do each play very differently. Do you want to ditch cards to amass corruption, which can sometimes hurt you, but empowers your spells? Or do you want to sequence cards patiently, waiting for your buildup of sheet energy and enemies to finally trigger, cascading through them into victory? Each character also has 2 general starting builds. The Hidden can focus on managing a combo beater that can repeatedly play swift cards, or deal persistent bleed damage, while the Tempest can increase her energy pool to play heavy hitting cards, or spread shock status, enabling each hit to do more damage. On the map, you can preview the rewards, so traveling down the nodes is tied to deck construction choices. I like how transparent the choices are. You know what card you'll get, or that this is a particular shop, or that this will get you a booster pack or a potion. This is contrasted to the question mark spaces in other roguelike deck builders that often leave you with arcane choices and inane story time that usually gives you something bad. It's nice that the whole map is on the screen at the same time, rather than having to scroll through the screen. Sometimes it's hard to tell where you could and could not travel, but the creator made it so you could simulate your path first. Battle to battle. This is where the deck building choices really come into play. You get a chance to modify your deck and select potions and spells once you see your enemy. So you could see you're coming against a boss that fills your deck with bad cards and choose to put a few more sift cards that let you move cards from your draw to your discard. You can also place void stones in cards. Some of these are just small bonuses like rage or shield. Others can completely revolutionize your deck, like putting ghost on the right card. You are hard limited to 20 cards. So you are never in the unfun position of being forced to constantly purge cards to get the smallest deck of cards. You must have 20 cards, and you can change your deck between battles, so you never have to feel bad about trying out a card and seeing how it goes. In Slay the Spire, you felt punished for the rest of the run for trying to see how a new card works. In Vault of the Void, you can experiment and take risks. Now to the meat of the game, turn-to-turn choices. Like most of these games, you use energy to play cards. Unlike other games, in Vault of the Void, you purge cards in order to get extra energy to play more cards. So not only are you choosing which cards to play, you are choosing which cards to get rid of to play those cards. And you can choose which cards to keep for the next round. You are constantly forced to make interesting decisions. There's nothing more boring than card games where you basically just play your whole hand every turn. Even in a turn where you will take no damage, you still have to decide, will I keep these guard cards for next turn or purge them all? Every single turn there are interesting decisions to make. Speaking of blocking damage, let's talk about the most unintuitive but ultimately rewarding system in the game. Threat. You don't take damage immediately in Vault of the Void. Instead, enemies deal threat, which will trigger at the end of your turn. You can also see the threat that will accumulate the next turn. Even if you kill an enemy that has dealt threat to you, you will still take the damage unless all the enemies are killed. However, if you kill all the enemies, your threat will not resolve and you can scrape through sweating. The block you gain from cards only decreases threat. It cannot accumulate. So sequencing is important against enemies that can add threat throughout your turn. This system can be difficult to get used to for veteran deck builders. However, it enables the possibility for even more careful and deliberate play. It also enables the most rewarding mechanic in the game: perfection. The clear telegraphing of damage and the ability to escape it means that you can reliably try to keep this little green square on your screen. Now, to be clear, the actual in-game reward isn't really that much more. I think it might actually be too small. But my ego, the part of me that still craves the constant validation that a school environment provides, that is the true reward. There is no better feeling than being able to kill an enemy with an overwhelming threat and still being able to get a perfect. And there is no worse feeling than taking 1 damage and seeing that little green square disappear. I did forget one extremely satisfying reward that is missing from games nowadays. When you get a perfect on an elite enemy on hard mode, you unlock a corresponding card back. Yes, you heard that right. There are unlockable cosmetics in this game that you do not have to pay money for. You can get animated cards, custom backgrounds, and card backs just by playing the game. Just to wrap up with other things I like. The boss fight is along the same trajectory as the rest of the game. There are a lot of roguelike deck builders that make their final boss difficult by making it have completely different abilities and mechanics than the rest of the game's battles. So you essentially have to build a deck that can win regular battles, but also win the boss battle that operates completely differently. I hate that so much. In Vault of the Void, the deck you built that got you through the game will still work on the final boss. There are no silly gimmicks. I like the abbreviated third phase. Often by the third floor of a roguelike, I'm ready to be done the run, and it feels like a slog. In Vault of the Void, the third floor is just choosing 2 out of 4 boss fights that will give you bonuses in the final fight. It's a really great mechanic, and creates even more meaningful choices. Along the same lines, the draft is short and sweet. A great option when you just want to sit down for a quick game. And finally, if you are bored with the game, there are an insane amount of challenge runs you can do that start you off with certain bonuses and debuffs. My only desire is that cards you master got a cool border or stamp or something to show you mastered it. Vault of the Void is extremely high quality. I found very few bugs while playing, and the developers were extremely responsive and seemed to really care about this project. I'm excited to see where it continues to go, and it is coming out of early access, like, as we speak, so definitely jump on that as soon as possible. Not all of the roguelikes I play, however, are so well made. I play a lot of dog water. I have a problem where I purchase, like, any roguelike deck builder that's under $15. So I have a lot to show you in the future, and few are nearly as high quality as Vault of the Void. You can pay attention to this channel in the upcoming weeks and months as I put out more videos. I do work a couple other jobs, so it'll be fairly periodic, which in my opinion makes it a safe subscription choice. You know, you won't be flooded with tons of videos. Just once in a while, you'll find out about some games. And together we'll discover just how much better quality I can make these over time. You can check out my Instagram where I put like paragraph, small reviews on movies, books, games that stand out to me. And thanks for watching. You can click subscribe and like, and please leave a comment. And if you have a heads up on any games that you'd like to see me play, then let me know. Thanks.